This week, we're going to take a look at the history of the price changes in soybeans associated with the March 31st USDA prospective plantings and grain stocks reports. We're going to turn our attention to Brazil, where they're in the middle of soybean harvest there. We're going to take a look at the latest weather trends. We're going to come back and look at export trends here in the U.S. and wrap things up the long-term review of November soybean futures. Hi, this is Brian Basting with Advanced Trading. Let's talk about the soybean market. We moved in the middle of March here, and this soybean market has been exceptionally volatile. We're going to start out this week taking a look at the price changes associated with the March 31st USDA grain stocks and prospective plantings reports. Now we're moving forward here just to get the stage set, if you will, for these two important USDA reports. What we did with this slide was look at the change in May and November soybean futures on the day that those reports were released. Notice last year there wasn't much change compared to the previous day. However, on many occasions, we see significant changes in price, both to the upside and to the downside, associated with the release of these reports. That's why it's critical that you work closely with your trusted risk management advisor to have your marketing positions in place prior to the release of these reports on March 31st. Let's shift gears now and focus on Brazil, where they're finishing up harvest in many areas. Let's take a look at where those soybeans are produced in Brazil. Now, Brazil beans are harvested north to south, Mato Grosso in the north, Rio Grande do Sul, which you've highlighted, in the far south. Let's take a look at progress now. Progress, as you can see in Mato Grosso, is approaching completion, but notice down in Rio Grande do Sul, only 2% of the crop has been harvested. In fact, the weather can still have a yield determining effect on those crops in Rio Grande do Sul. With that in mind, let's take a look at the short-term weather trends. Our slides this week, as usual, are courtesy of T-Storm Weather. Starting out here looking at the next 7 to 10 days, it's going to remain wet in the north, but as I said, most of those beans have been harvested in Brazil and Mato Grosso. There has been some concern about too much rainfall and some quality concerns. We'll keep an eye on that for you moving forward. As we move south, though, in Rio Grande do Sul, highlighted there in light blue, not as much rain short term. Let's look at that a little bit closer here. Now, looking at limited rainfall in Rio Grande do Sul near term here, there are some thoughts that maybe some of those yields are being compromised by this dry weather. Let's take a look at precip totals now over the next 2 weeks. Notice again here in the south, we're looking at the driest weather in Rio Grande do Sul, more wet in the north, but again, most of those beans have already been harvested in the north. Let's shift gears now and focus on export trends here in the U.S. Now, bean exports, of course, are down sharply this year, 28% compared to a year ago. Moving forward here, of course, the key reason there is because of China. We've seen China imports well below the average of the last 5 years. You have to go all the way back to 18-19 crop year to see exports this low. Of course, the bean market, as I said earlier, has been exceptionally volatile this week. A limit down move was seen earlier this week on results of the president saying that U.S. has asked China to delay the meeting at least a month or so due to the Iran war. So again, critical to see how that plays out over time. This is a recipe for volatility in the market and a recipe for volatility for you to manage price movement. Let's wrap things up this week. Look at the trends in November beans. Now, November beans, as we tape here on Tuesday, have rebounded. Now, they were trading about $11.35 a bushel as we tape on Tuesday, but they were even higher than that earlier this week. Look at that potential for price volatility over the next 6 or 7 months prior to harvest. That's why it's critical that you work closely with your trusted risk management advisor to continue to manage price movement and avoid price prediction. Now, if you'd like more information, please feel free to contact us at 309-664-2300. We'll put you in contact with one of our risk management consultants who'll be happy to visit with you at your convenience. Remember, we upload every Wednesday. Make sure to subscribe to our channel and never miss an update. Thanks a lot. Have a good week.